Absent?
None, Chair.
Perfect. So we've got no minutes. Do we have any disclosure of interest?
Although I'm a landlord and I've had advice from our monitoring officer and I'm told that there's no conflict of interest as far as this panel is concerned or any decisions that are taken within this panel.
Yeah, that's fine. There's no urgent business. Okay, so we'll move. Oh, and am I supposed to outline the process? Right, so the procedure, brief outline of the allegation. Right, so it's case reference 2311280001, and it's a case in relation to Councillor Amjad Ali and Councillor Shaw. Now, am I supposed to actually introduce everyone? Right, okay. I'm going to hand over to Mark unless I do actually have to run through all of the procedure.
No, Chair, I don't think it's necessary for you to run through the procedure as the procedure has been published with the papers. My report is in the agenda pack. I don't intend to take too long to present it to you as it is fairly self-explanatory. The local assessment panel met on the 18th of March to consider a complaint by Councillor Amjad Ali against Councillor Tom Shaw regarding certain comments that Councillor Shaw had made at a full council meeting regarding the public support by the Liberal Democrat group for the selective licensing scheme, which the comments by Councillor Shaw indicated that the Liberal Democrat group had not been publicly supportive of that scheme. The local assessment panel decided that there had potentially been a breach of the council's code of conduct and instructed me to undertake a limited investigation, which consisted of requesting evidence from both the complainant and the subject member, either to support or refute the complaint. The complainant, Councillor Amjad Ali, has provided evidence from a range of sources which purports to demonstrate that in actual fact the Liberal Democrat group has been publicly supportive of the selective licensing scheme, and that evidence is attached at Appendix A to my report. It will be for the panel to decide whether or not it agrees with Councillor Amjad Ali's contention that that provides sufficient evidence of public support for the scheme. The subject member, Councillor Shaw, has provided no evidence to refute the complaint and to demonstrate that the statements he made were true or that he believed them to be true at the time that he made them. You'll bear with me one moment while I reactivate my computer. So having decided that the matter should be investigated, it is incumbent upon me under the law to consult with the independent person, and I did consult with Mr. Fogden and his comments on the matter, which the panel is required to take into account in reaching a decision on this matter, as set out at paragraph 8. Should the panel decide that the complaint is upheld and that a sanction should apply, the possible sanctions available to the panel are set out at paragraph 9. That concludes my report, Chair.
Yes.
Councillor Shaw is not present, do we have to take a decision to proceed in his absence? That would be normal in a court system anyway.
Councillor Shaw was invited to attend the meeting, and he has decided that he does not wish to.
He has told me he's in another meeting. So I assume we just carry on in his absence. Do we need to? Yeah.
So sorry, I was just raising the point because I think we do have to formally take a decision on that. If the legal eagles want to advise me differently, that's fine.
Okay. Do we take a vote on it?
I think if you put a proposal to the panel to proceed in the absence of Councillor Shaw, and the panel can decide whether or not to.
Okay. So proposing we continue in the absence of Councillor Shaw. If those in favour could raise their hands.
Sorry, Chair, I didn't hear what you said.
I'm very sorry. I said I'm proposing that we continue in the absence of Councillor Shaw. If you are in favour, could you please raise your hand? Okay. I think that's a majority of the panel.
The next stage in the process, Chair, is for the complainant to question me if they wish.
Oh, perfect. Because I was reading through this, like, what's next? Next, number 9. So the claim payments. Okay, great. So, Councillor Ali, would you like to question Mark?
Thank you, Chair. The only thing I would ask is, so in terms of Mark, when I first approached yourself, can you please confirm that I offered to settle this informally without any formal complaint?
That is correct, Chair.
Thank you. No further questions.
Okay, thank you very much. So now we move on to questions from the panel to Mark Turner. Got any questions? Okay. Mark, would you like to call any witnesses?
No, Chair.
No. So we've got no witnesses. No witnesses. Okay. So without witnesses, that would mean the subject member or the representative will present his or her case. But obviously, Tom's not here.
Yes, I think we now go to point 24, Chair, which is where the independent person may ask any questions of me.
Okay.
Or of any other person.
Right. So, Chris, would you like to ask any questions?
Thank you, Chair. I don't have any questions to ask of the monitoring officer.
Okay, thank you. Subject member is not here. So, Chris, would you like to give your view to the panel then?
Thank you, Chair. Can I start by saying that I do appreciate that the subject member is not present as you've gone through that procedure, but I am mindful that the same criteria must apply to the consideration of this matter as if that person had been here and had expressed whatever views they had. So when I look at the information provided, I do note the 7 separate pieces of evidence supplied by the complainant, and I'm mindful of those and what they set out quite clearly. And I'm also mindful that there is no evidence or no information from the subject member. So I need to weigh that consideration. And overall, I do believe that given the information that we have available to us here today, that the complaint should be upheld and proceed to consideration by the committee. That would be my recommendation, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, so do we get a solution? This view panel will then make a decision. Okay, so the panel will then retire. Okay, so at this stage, we would need to pass a resolution under Section 100A of the Local Government Act 1972 to exclude the public.
Chair, if it helps, I don't really think we need to do that at a time when you consider it to be convenient. I have a proposal to put before the panel.
Okay, I'm just trying to follow the procedure.
Yeah, Chair, strictly the panel should retire to consider what it is heard and to come to a decision. Because the matter is live streamed, it's difficult to exclude the public because that would mean turning the live stream off and we'd then have to recover it. So arrangements have been made for the panel members to retire to committee room 4, where they can consider what they've heard and then return to the chamber when they are ready.
So shall we retire?
No, it's now that you announce the decision of the panel as to whether or not the complaint is upheld.
Okay. So, having carefully considered the evidence, the panel has found that Councillor Shaw made untrue allegations against Liberal Democrat councillors at the full council meeting on the 4th of November. So we have, based on, we have determined that by misrepresentation, Councillor Shaw has breached the code at 4.1, which is providing leadership to the authority and communities within its area by a personal example, and 4.6, which is not conducting himself or herself in a manner which could reasonably be regarded as bringing his or her office or the authority into disrepute. But the panel found that it did not breach 4.2, which is respecting others and not bullying or harassing. So that is our decision there, Mark.
Thank you, Chair. In that case, we move to paragraphs 30 through 39 of the procedure, and the first stage at paragraph 31 is to ask the complainant if he wishes to make any representation as to the impact of the behaviour on himself.
Would you like to do so, Councillor Ali?
Thank you, Chair. As with anything, whilst we are in a council chamber and we have, the whole public and the media listening into everything, it is unfortunate that Councillor Shaw has attempted to malign the Liberal Democrat group in such a setting. So that obviously causes problems for us, because we have been going, or personally myself as at the time the deputy leader of the Liberal Democrats, if we have been going to the public in our electorate to be vocal about the licensing scheme, and then to have an opposition councillor and a senior opposition councillor to stand there, as well as the executive member of the council, to stand there and say that we are lying and that we were not supportive, it brings our integrity into question, and therefore it would have maligned our own standing within our electorate. So I think it has impacted us in that regard, and also with anything, it's unfortunate that a senior councillor thinks it's acceptable to actually go and stand in front of in such a setting and to lie about something when they themselves know that what they are saying is untrue. Because if they had believed anything or that what they were saying was true, then they would have actually made some representations today, of which throughout this whole process we have received nothing. Thank you.
Chair, the panel may question the complainant on his representation.
Any questions for Councillor Ali? No? Okay. So we move on. So I think the next point is, Mark, you make representations to whether the panel should impose a sanction.
I have no representations to make in that respect, Chair.
Okay. Right, so the next bit is panel may question you on any such representations, but you haven't made any. So, sorry.
Number 38.
38. Chris, do you have, will you be able to give your views on the appropriate sanction, if any, to impose?
Thank you, Chair. I have heard the effect expressed by the complainant of the events that have taken place, and also noted that the subject member is a senior member of this council. So I just remind myself that any sanction should be both appropriate and above all proportionate to what has taken place. Apart from that, I do not believe that it's appropriate for me to mention what sanction should apply. I think it's the function of the panel, but bearing in mind my words of appropriate and proportionate, which I'm sure they would take into account anyway. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Right. So
it's now once again, Chair, for the panel to retire to consider whatever sanction may be appropriate, if any.
Right. Mark, I note that in the procedure that the panel announced its decision in the presence of all parties, but that's fine as we've voted to continue without Councillor Shaw, right?
Or all parties who are present.
Okay. Okay. So, the panel has resolved to ask the monitoring officer to offer to arrange suitable training on the code of conduct for Councillor Shaw. His attendance of this training at a future meeting with the Standards Committee, Mark, if that's okay, as a first point. And we have also resolved to request that the monitoring officer report the decision to the next appropriate meeting of the full council.
Thank you, Chair. Does the panel have any suggestions as to what might be suitable training?
We discussed training on the code of conduct and Nolan principles.
Thank you for that clarification, Chair.
Thank you. So, with that being the decision, and I have presented that, does that bring this meeting to a close?
Yes, it does, Chair. Just a reminder that the subject member does have the right of appeal.
Yes.
Within 10 days of the issue of the written decision, but that appeal can only be on certain grounds.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, thank you everyone for attending.
Chair, before we finally close the meeting,
yes,
would it be appropriate for the monitoring officer to outline the process in the event of an appeal?
Yes, you could do so.
Yeah, so if there is an appeal, it must be on certain grounds, i.e. that there has been a substantial misdirection in law or a misunderstanding or so on and so forth. If the grounds of appeal do not meet those criteria, then the appeal will fail. If the appeal does go ahead, then a separate panel will be constituted, drawn from the Standards Committee, but obviously different members, to consider that appeal. If the appeal is upheld, then the decision of this panel as regard to sanctions and its conclusion may be quashed. But if the appeal is not upheld, then the actions that this panel has determined should take place will proceed. But those actions will not proceed until such time as an appeal as the time for an appeal to be lodged has expired, or if an appeal has been lodged, that it has been considered.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to draw this meeting to a close. Thank you very much, everyone who attended.